Hello. I hope I haven't kept you waiting. Yes, this is the Crime Club. I'm the librarian. Mr. Smith's hat. Yes, we have that Crime Club story for you. Come right over. You're here. Good. Take the easy chair by the window. Comfortable? The book is on this shelf. Here it is. Mr. Smith's Hat by Helen Riley. A very intriguing story of a finger that puts its print on death. Let's look at it under the reading lamp. It was a bad day for New York City, the worst in a 3-week period of early summer heat. And Inspector Christopher McKee was in his office at the Center Street Police Headquarters when the telephone rang. Yes, Inspector McKee talking, homicide.
Yes, I was just going to talk to you about that.
What?
Homicide. How'd you like to meet a freshly made corpse?
Go ahead, mister.
Well, go to 1142 West 16th Street, Gilbert Shannon's apartment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not there now, but don't worry. You'll find me waiting for you.
What's your name?
Gilbert Shannon.
Well, of all the days to be hung up by a lunatic.
Yes, Inspector McKee.
Cassidy, get the local precinct for West 16th Street. I want them to check on a nut.
Yes.
Hold a minute. Inspector McKee, homicide.
Inspector, my father's been killed. Murdered.
Mm-hmm. All right, lady, give me the facts. Name, please.
Gilbert Shannon, 1142 West 16th
What?
Street.
What's that?
1142 West 16th Street. I just found him lying on the floor in a pool of blood.
Your name, please.
Julie, will you please send someone over here right away, please? Please.
Yes. Cassidy.
Yes, Inspector.
Never mind calling the local precinct. Get the medical examiner and order my car. I'm going up to that place myself.
I walked in, Inspector. Dad never bothered to lock the door. He didn't believe he had anything worth stealing, except a lot of unpaid bills.
And empty whiskey bottles, Miss Shannon, all over the place.
We pleaded with him to give up this dingy apartment. Oliver and I begged him.
Who's Oliver?
My uncle, Inspector. Oliver Gore.
The utilities man?
Mm-hmm. Since my mother died 2 years ago, I've been living with him and Tamsin, his wife, in their big house on East 54th Street. They wanted Dad to stay there, too, but he was stubborn.
What?
He didn't want charity. He wouldn't let anyone help him. Not even promised to marry his oldest friend. Not even me, his own daughter.
No, he seemed to have enough money for liquor, Miss Shannon.
That wasn't very often. You see, Dad was a writer. Popular magazine stories. Sometimes he sold one. Then he...
Yeah, I know. Must have been pretty tough on you and your mother. Well, let's see what happened here. Gilbert Shannon was sitting at that desk, working, his back to the door, when someone came in and cracked him on the skull with a blunt instrument, not once, but 6 times.
Please, Inspector.
I'm sorry. It was a vicious crime done by a vicious person. Someone who feared or hated your father.
But I don't know if anyone...
It was also someone your father trusted and was expecting.
Yeah?
The blows were all on the back of the head. In other words, when Gilbert Shannon's killer opened that door, your father knew who it was. He didn't turn around, but kept right on working.
Inspector McKee, do you realize what you're saying?
I always do, Miss Shannon.
But it's crazy. My dad's friends were the best in the world. They were always trying to do things for him. I can't think of...
Know thine enemies, but beware of thy friends. A wise old saying, young lady. And in some cases of murder, I've known it to apply to relatives, too. Let's go.
Where are you taking me?
Home. I'd like to meet Oliver and Tamsin Galt and Santos Demora, and maybe a man who commits murder and then likes to play ghost.
Julie, I think you ought to go upstairs and lie down. I don't feel like it, Tamsin.
She is so right, Julie, my dear. It is no good for you to hear all this talk about murder.
Please, Santos.
Like Gilbert, she is so active.
Inspector McKee, you haven't answered my question. Your question, Mr. Galt?
About the newspapers.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. What do you want me to do?
Keep this matter private.
Why?
My position, of course, I'm vice president of Eastern Utilities. I don't want a scandal.
What are you afraid of?
Gilbert Shannon was my brother-in-law. He was married to my sister.
You haven't answered my question, Mr. Gold.
I don't want his private life made public. It wasn't clean.
I love him.
Well, Julie, let's face it. We've been ashamed of him for a long time, long before your mother died. Now, why should I be punished for his mistakes?
He never did anything to hurt you. He wouldn't even take your pity. Now, there, Julie. I didn't mean what he said.
Well, Inspector, I make no promises. As an old-time citizen, I think it's bad business to interfere with the press.
But my reputation...
We'll worry about that later. Where were you this afternoon?
At my office.
Every minute?
Until 12:15. Then I had lunch, and after that... Now, look here, Inspector.
After lunch, Mr. Gold.
I went for a walk.
A long walk?
I was back at my office at 2:15.
Mm-hmm. Shannon was killed between 12:30 and 2.
Inspector McP, if you're intimating that
How about you, Mrs. Gold? Where were you?
On Fifth Avenue. Shopping.
Buy anything?
No.
Need anyone?
No. Inspector, I thought you said the murderer was a man.
Oh, did I? You never take a policeman literally, Miss Shannon, until he waves a pair of handcuffs. Now, Mr. DeMar.
I was in Central Park that afternoon. For work, it was too hot. You know that.
You need anyone?
Only the prison and the squatters, Inspector.
So they can't talk.
Senor, it is quite useless to make up a case about us. Not one person in this room had a reason or a wish to dispose of Gilbert. We will prove nothing to the contrary.
Ha! Nice going. Certainly stick together. I hope you don't have to harm together.
Hello. 1 moment, please.
For you, Inspector. Oh, thank you. Yes? What's that, then? Huh? Oh. Okay, put it through the lab. Ah? Good work. Let me test the pad. Yes, I'll follow him. No. Everything comes to him who works.
What is it, Inspector?
A few things to worry about, Mrs. Galt. The murder weapon has been found. Would one of you like to go?
I'm sick of this, Inspector. You have no argument at all.
All right. It was a hammer. The postman took it out of a mailbox on Lower Fifth Avenue.
What? What does it mean? Avenues are not existed. But it is quite ridiculous. If one desires to conceal or dispose of a weapon...
No, it's not a mistake. Now, Miss Thomas.
Are you going to raise the handcuffs, Inspector?
When you entered your father's apartment, did you have a gun to throw out?
No.
It sounded good. Like the first smear of lipstick on the inside doorknob. It'd make a wonderful fingerprint. Huh? No comment? No. The chairman of the district attorney has released your father's body for burial. You can make your arrangements.
Thank you.
I'll be in touch with all of you. And don't start to lose time unless you're so hot you'd like to spend some time in the tour.
In the beginning I was perfect and running, and today I walk like man. got to do to the Russian property? To the Puranan. I don't know who he is, nor who it is. That's not all I ever know, Your Honor. I've just gone and the company with my office of it all evening. What's in the crew, Captain Honeycomb? Good to go. Gordon, what about his name? Sorry, that's all. Is that all, Doctor? To find out who he called. What were they, Doctor? Very good. The business has got a symptom of those? Never mind the purple, give me the start for the phone. Oh, no, you lost him. He was going to meet somebody and you lost it. You could have broken this first. Come on, close the book on it. Now, if you have something to do, you'll get something, and then come back here to my office. You'll have a good crowd together. Hello, Poison. I came in for a lonely dinner. I started sitting at the table. I am delighted. I was at the dinner on after dinner, and you got asked to the restaurant. Do you want to go on? I am glad to be very good, Constance darling. It gives me an opportunity to answer please. But I am only holding your hand. Is it so to do that? What am I not looking? Look or not? Do I try? What I do? Constance, something is serious. Leave me alone. It has not always been like this. It is now. I'm not ready to lose, I have to live. You do not lose something you do not like. That's how I feel about you, Constance. I do not like to hear such stuff. Just as though it was different. You should not stand to lose without it. I do not. But you are a good sport. No, I am not a good sport when there is no good reason. Why don't you tell me that you have not quality on me? Is it important? I'm good with you. If you want me to vote over for a night without money, have you all it? I see. You would rather do with a man you do not love. It is impossible. I see. You don't think. When did you find this out about me? Last night at dinner. I announced that your business is on the yacht with you down in the downtown. And immediately left the afternoon. All last night early dinner. On bottom. You cannot do this to me when I have lost everything you can do. Stop it, talking over. Talking over. Good. I'm surprised at you. Nobody wants to be with a husband. And what are you doing with my student? I thought you were a hummingbird. Did my father know about you too? But don't answer that. I thought you were doing. And he was still pronounced to us. And I like to look completely out of your mind. You were afraid that God might tell about you and Papa. That would have cost you a good hard plus a lot of money. You're not making sense. Tasty, sit down. That isn't a lie, I don't know that. You just talk about I'm going home. A good place for you, Thompson. Maybe you can find the hammer that used to be on that second floor closet. Yes? I looked for it tonight. It wasn't there. You might ask one of the servants about that. Shall I ask one of the servants about my lipstick, too? Yes, you know, Julie. I've had enough of your nasty little insinuations. If anyone had a motive for killing your father, you did. He made your life miserable, and he destroyed your mother. He killed her. And you know how she died. She didn't fall in front of a subway train. She destroyed herself. No. about accusing someone of murder. Think of the consequences. All of them. Good night.
It is true, unfortunately, Julie. Gilbert was my oldest friend, but sometimes even I did not understand it. Come, I will take you home to Oliver's house.
Yes, 2 reservations on the midnight plane. Splendid. Mrs. Gordon, I'll pick them up at 12:15. Thank you.
Really?
Thompson. I didn't hear you come in.
Where are we going on such short notice?
Mexico.
Why?
The newspapers have got hold of Gilbert's case. Now, tomorrow morning, all the filth in that man's life will become public gossip, and I don't want to face it.
Of course. But why must you do tonight?
Because I decided. Now, let's taxi. Very little time.
I cannot go, Oliver.
What? Now, look here,
Now,
Thompson.
please listen to me. I can't let you, lady.
Oh, she's got a
You
lie.
don't have to carry on tonight after you have had it. It wouldn't be fair to desert her at a time like this.
But I... Oh, all right, I'll phone the airport for another reservation.
No, Oliver. Julie needs time to organize herself. She's had a terrible shock. Why don't you go alone? And we'll join you in a few days.
Well...
You won't have to face the forget you and I have a chance to help Julie.
Yes, very well. I can wait for you at the Continental Hotel in Mexico City, and from there we can go on to... That's a good idea, Thompson. Will you phone the airport and cancel your reservation while I go upstairs and cancel?
Of course, darling. Hello? Police headquarters? Inspector McKee, please. Inspector McKee? This is Pansy Galt. I came in a few minutes ago, and I found that my husband has disappeared. Yes. 2 of his suitcases are gone. Well, I phoned the airport, and I was told that he'd made a reservation on the midnight plane for him and me. Well, I don't know why he included me, but... No, I didn't cancel it. I didn't want Oliver to become suspicious. Yes. You're quite welcome. Goodbye.
You just made a serious blunder. You should have called the airport first. Now Inspector McKee will know that you were lying.
Oliver, put down that candle.
It was all worked out in your precious little mind, wasn't it? You needed care, loving
I
care.
didn't need this, Oliver. I'll call the inspector. I'll tell him...
It's too late, Thompson. Would you like to know how much I really love you?
Oliver, please give me a
As
chance.
much as I hate you now.
You won't hear me. Somebody's listening on his phone now. Oliver. No.
Yes, Thompson. Hello? Hello? I'm tired, Cassidy. It's been a long day. Sure, but wouldn't you be feeling good enough now to eat that cemetery birch for your good appetite?
Oliver Galt, big utilities man, making a getaway. Every day a new surprise.
Won't he be guessing when he finds the airport loaded down with cops?
Yes? Mm-hmm. You don't say. Are you sure? You gotta be sure. Okay.
What's the trouble, sir, if you don't mind me asking?
Those fingerprints we found on the doorknob of Shannon's apartment, Cassidy.
They ain't good.
They belong to a John Revillo.
I don't recall no such name, sir.
The San Diego confidence man arrested 21 years ago, broke jail 6 months later, was never found.
Well, that sort of changes the picture, don't it? Revillo. Could that be a Spanish name?
I don't know.
On the other hand, it's possible that a fellow who calls himself John Smith and laughs at the church funeral might...
Yeah. Anything's possible now. Inspector McKee, homicide.
Yes.
What's the joke, mister?
We meet again, Inspector, and again it's bad news.
Tell me about it.
You know who this is?
The ghost of Gilbert Shannon.
A toast to the wise. Death begets death. And when it's murder, there can be no end except it's death.
What's that?
It's happened again. But now it's a beautiful lady. Young, charming.
Who was it?
Handsome Galt.
What?
A horror of horrors to be snuffed out in the prime of life.
Now, listen, you. If this is a gag, I want to...
Goodbye, Inspector. I assume your next stop will be the Golf Mansion on East 54th Street, which is now a tomb.
Cassidy. Cassidy. It was only we, Inspector. That car was made from Root near the guardhouse.
Never mind that. Pick up Smith and hold him here until I get back, if I ever do. Let's keep talking, Miss Shannon. I've got work to do.
Well, I didn't know what had happened until you came to the house, Inspector McKee. Travis Demora brought me home, and I went straight up to my room.
Where'd he go?
He left me at the front door, Inspector.
Well, all right. I'm satisfied. I think we'll wrap up this candle holder now. The fingerprints on it should tell us who struck the first blow.
The first?
Yes. Tamsin Galt was not killed by a blow on the head. She was smothered to death.
Good heavens.
By someone who held her nose and mouth while she was unconscious.
But how can you tell?
Those swollen veins in her neck and the color of her face.
How dreadful. But who?
Anybody. It didn't require courage or strength.
I see. What about Oliver?
Huh? How do you mention him?
He might have found out that Santos and Tamsin were... Well...
Oh, one of those things, huh? Did your father know about them, too?
He must have. The hammer he was killed with was taken out of this house.
Well, thank you. Why didn't you talk about it sooner?
I didn't know until a few minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the second-floor closet to look for something, and I found that...
We're having company.
That's Oliver.
Perfect. Meet him in the hall and don't tell him what happened.
Don't?
Go ahead and do as I say.
All right, Inspector.
And leave that door open. I want to hear everything.
Oliver?
Julie, I just gone upstairs. Where's Tamsin?
Oh, she's indisposed.
Indisposed? I just don't understand that woman. An hour ago, she wanted to fly to Mexico tonight.
Mexico? What are you talking about?
I rushed down to my office to get these papers. I thought I'd combine pleasure with business. And now, is she upstairs?
No, Mr. Gold.
What?
She's waiting for you in the living room.
Expecting the key.
Would you like to see her? Of course you would. Now, come on. After you've had a good look, we'll take a trip downtown to police headquarters, and you too, Miss Shannon.
If you like.
I like. And while we're driving, we'll pick up Mr. Demora and give him a lift, too.
Santos? But why?
Your alibi, Miss Shannon, and to you, Mr. Gold, a mathematical problem. The outside angle of a triangle.
Excuse me, Inspector.
What is it, Cassidy?
I just got the report of this candle holder. No fingerprints. It was wiped clean.
All right. Stay here with Smith. I'm going into the next room to pin down a murderer.
Inspector, I'd appreciate a drink if you have one.
Great, great. Give one, Cassidy, from that water cooler.
No, not that. I need something.
Well, Inspector McKee, are you ready for it?
For one of you, Miss Shannon, an escaped convict by the name of John Ravillo. What's the matter? You struck dumb? What about it, Mr. Demora? Would you like to enlighten me?
I have never heard of the gentleman.
How about you, Mr. Gold?
I don't know him. I don't recall ever having met him.
Well, then, suppose I give you people an assist. Here's an ink pad. We'll take some fingerprints. Who'll be the first volunteer? You, Mr. Gold? Well?
All right. I'm John Ravillo. But I didn't commit murder. You yourself told me that Tamsin was smothered.
You made it possible by cracking her skull.
I had no choice. We quarreled. She flew into a temper and picked up a knife.
You can do better than that. But first, what about Gilbert Shannon?
I thought he was blackmailing me. He was the only one who knew my real identity. I went to his apartment this afternoon for a showdown.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you that because Gilbert was already dead when I found him. I was afraid. My criminal record, you know.
I know. But I also know that Shannon was not blackmailing you.
What?
Just a minute. Smith, come in here.
When the law beckons,
And put your hat on.
spoken like an old friend.
That's the man. I paid him the money.
Paid? You paid me?
It's all right, Smith. You can relax.
But I told you, Inspector, I was the bait the spider used to lure the fly. And when I saw them today in church, sitting side by side like Damon and Phineas,
Inspector McKee,
Huh? What is it, Mr. Demora?
could I have a glass of water, please?
Sure. But first, Give me what you have in your hand.
You have no right.
We'll talk about that some other time. Pills, huh? Poison. Sit down, Mr. DeMora. It's your turn to talk now about a double murder, and no double talk, if you know what I mean.
I just can't believe it. That is DeMora, of all people.
Your father's oldest friend. Know thine enemies, but beware of thy friends.
And Oliver, an escaped convict. Oh, I knew that Dad had met Oliver in San Diego.
He didn't meet him, Miss Shannon. He helped put him in jail. Your father was one of those energetic newspaper reporters who liked to play detective, too.
But Dad married Oliver's sister.
Yeah, it's one of those things you never understand. Got the whole story from Smith. He was Gilbert Shannon's editor.
Then he knew.
Yes, but liquor and hard luck put a cloud on his mind. So when he met Oliver Galt after 20 years, he didn't recognize him as John Lavillo.
And he collected the blackmail money and turned it over to Santos DeMora.
For a whiskey pittance. Smith had to have whiskey.
Inspector, how did Santos find out about Oliver?
DeMora told me he got it from your father during a moment of whiskey weakness.
But why did he kill him?
For protection. Your father was the only one who knew Oliver's past, but DeMora was blackmailing him.
But why did he kill Tamsin?
Oh, to frame you, my dear, for both murders.
What?
You quarreled with Tamsin in a restaurant. DeMora was present.
He told you about that, too?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's very clever, I must say.
Mm-hmm.
How did he get into the house? I left him at the front door.
He unlatched it while you were saying good night.
Oh. Well, that explains everything.
Just enough.
Calling Inspector McKee. Calling Inspector McKee.
Oh, what now? Another murder? What is it?
Excuse me, sir. This is Cassidy. There's a question that's playing on my mind, and if you'd be good enough to answer it.
Sure. Anything to go home and go to bed.
Well, sir, it's about them telephone calls that Smith made to your office about them murders. Why did he do it?
An old newspaper man and a lunatic. He couldn't resist the scoop.
But how could he know about them, Inspector?
Very simple, Cassidy. He was in the right place at the wrong time.
Yes, but I...
Good night, Cassidy. Stop worrying about trifles. The case is closed. And so closes tonight's Crime Club book, Mr. Smith's Hat, based on a story by Helen Riley. Stedman Coles did the radio adaptation. Roger Bauer produced and directed. Inspector McKee was played by Raymond Edward Johnson and Julie by Elaine Kent. The cast included William Podmore, Eleanor Phelps, Paul Hammond, Sherling Oliver, and Barry Thompson. Oh, I beg your pardon. Hello? I hope I haven't kept you waiting. Yes, this is the Crime Club. I'm the librarian. Yes, come over a week from tonight. Good. We have a very unusual story of a charity ball at which the principal gift was death. It's called Murder Goes Astray by M.V. Hebden. In the meantime, there's a new Crime Club book available this week and every week at bookstores everywhere. Yes, it's available now. Fine. And we look for you next week. And by the way, the next time you sit down to enjoy a good show, think of the 1.5 million men who are trying to win the peace throughout the world. And yes, think of the 199,000 who helped win the war and are still in the hospitals. They like a good show, too. So keep them going with good USO entertainment. They still need USO, and USO is you. This program came from New York. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System. Is you. This program came from New York. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.